Any comments, questions, clarifications? Silence means that everything is clearly understood or nothing is understood. Where are we? Yes.
Our newspaper giants, Hindu and Times of India, their online versions vis-a-vis the printed media. So what is the status now? Because everyone, each one was comfortable reading Hindu or Times early morning. Okay, we have to feel the print. So now that you are saying that social media is taking away, so what will be the future and present status?
Well, there are people who'd like to have a feel of it, the touch. But I think slowly and slowly that will pass. That will pass. Many people are really taking to the digital versions, or they are striking a balance. For instance, if somebody was buying, say, about 6 newspapers or 4 newspapers, now probably they would buy one just to get the feel of it, and the rest 3 or 4 or 5 they're looking at the digital versions. And in India, most of the newspapers are free on the net. Some of them, very few of them are, they lock certain important articles. Unless you are a subscriber, they don't open. But most of them are, and some of them, for instance, the Hindu, you can have a look at the newspaper, the entire newspaper, but you can't share it. If you are a subscriber, you can share it. They are placing a little bit of restrictions on it, but otherwise people are slowly getting used to it. I personally speaking, I would like to have a feel of it, because that's the generation gap. Youngsters probably will only look at, and most of the people are not reading newspapers. Let's be very clear about it. Many people are not reading newspapers. They are looking at, for instance, when we looked at the data earlier, when I was looking at the landscape of social media, a lot of people are relying on Twitter feed for news. And I experimented with Kindle. I bought a Kindle and then read some books on Kindle, downloaded, bought. But if somebody wants, I can give it away. And I pushed it aside, and I really enjoy holding a book and writing something, underlining, etc., etc. But the next generation, I don't think people would. I was very excited when I bought the Kindle. I could carry 1,500 books, in a small, slim kind of a device. But then the charm wore away for me. Yes, you are saying something.
I am Navroz, and I just wanted to update you that there is a very interesting bucking of the trend in India. India is, I think, the only country in the world where newspaper sales have actually gone up in the last 5 years. Times of India, Hindustan Times, and more importantly, surprisingly, the vernacular papers. Whether it's the Jagrans and the Bhaskars and the Malayalam Manoramas, they've actually grown. And not marginal, just holding their numbers, but actually grown. And what is interesting is that they've somehow managed to bring in a younger reader into the process. So it was very easy. Yes, all over the world, even Newspeak shut down and went into a digital platform. So there are a number of cases all over the world where print has definitely been hit very badly. But surprisingly, India has been bucking that trend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good morning, Prabhakar. Excellent presentation, and really gave us a lot of insights from the beginning. I have a question for you. Nowadays, many people are using this word digital marketing a lot. They're trying to collect some money and search engine optimization, Google words, AdWords. And I don't know, that's it. Many people, my friends also, they selected some digital marketing expert, but they're not happy with the results and the kind of business they're getting. And I use a lot of social media platform to promote my healthcare business. Personally, I do myself on Facebook and all. On WhatsApp, I am using at my personal level, not at a professional level. So, do you feel that there is an expert like Rightfolio will add value? We are ready to pay any money, because by paying money, if I am getting my profit, why not? I will definitely ready to share. But if all my competitors are also using the same, again in the competition, where do we end up? So, is it viable spending money on digital marketing, or is it better to do it on our own? I have this question.
You see, I know how to drive. You know, I've driven in most of the countries in the world, but I have a driver. You might ask me, why do you have a driver? I can drive, but it's an opportunity cost, in the sense that, you know, instead of me driving, I sit and, you know, maybe give you a call and talk, and, you know, maybe send a message or look up something, etc., etc. That particular time also would be my working time. I get into the car, and I don't, these days especially, you know, the minute I get into the car, I'm in the office even before I reach office, isn't it? That's one. So if you are doing 10 things, and you're also doing social media, you know, outreach for your product or for your company, maybe if there is somebody, you can ask them to do it, and you know, you can do another which is more rewarding for, you know, either your personal thing or your commercial or your professional thing. That's one. And secondly, expertise is anytime expertise. Of course, there are so many quacks, and there are so many people who would you know, tell you SEO and things like that. You see, my take on this is, there are text, for instance, even without doing an SEO, they become popular. I mean, I don't think Shakespeare did an SEO to become Shakespeare, isn't it? Shakespeare, there are innate strengths, but definitely we are all not Shakespeares. Definitely a professional help surely, you know, helps. And of course, you need to, you know, see who can deliver. And you know, in this, the beauty of this is that it is measurable. You will see what is happening. I mean, nobody can come and tell you, look, I've done a great job, but you know, there are not many followers. People are not looking at it. There are no engagements. You can't really bluff in this. That is one. The second thing is, these days it is important for you to understand when to, you know, update a message. You know, for instance, there is an important message from my company, and the whole business establishment in this country is looking at yesterday's budget, for instance. Now, at that time, if I upload something, now as an individual, probably because I am free, then I would upload it. But as a professional, I would say, don't do that. Do it at 8 o'clock or do it tomorrow, something like that. So there are certain decisions, there are certain things, and there are, of course, you know, what kind of a creative you put up, what kind of a text you compose, and what kind of a font you use, what kind of a color do you use, and what platforms do you select. So, for instance, looking at the atom world, for instance, you don't advertise a Mercedes-Benz on the back of an auto rickshaw, do you? You don't do that. There is a platform for it. In fact, you don't advertise at all. Some products, they don't advertise at all. I don't know. I don't remember seeing an Apple iPhone being advertised by Apple. The service providers might advertise. Look, you buy Airtel connection, Airtel advertises iPhone, and somebody else, Vodafone advertises Apple. But Apple on its own does. But Apple has a huge ad spend. I don't know what they spend on. They spend on these. Okay. So professional help is important.
So good afternoon.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. I've been a journalism student, and that's why this question. Somewhere with the invasion of social media and internet, it is believed that the credibility of news has been lost. Okay, so does this mean that because we are saying that newspapers will lose their charm? Already I feel half of it has lost. So will it be like we are having a future where there will be no credible news? Because today anything and everything becomes news because of the increasing pressure of having extra news, extra TRPs, etc. So does this mean that we will have, like, I stopped believing in news personally, and does this mean that my kids will not even know that there is something good to learn from in news?
I think what you're hinting at is what's called fake news, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
In other words, it's fake news. There's so many fake news. That's the downside of the internet and the social media. Of course, you see, how do we use a platform? And is there a way to prevent the misuse and abuse of a platform? That's a totally different, area that we are going into. Because you are in communications, in journalism, in reporting, anything that is put up by anybody is one thing. Anything that is put up by a credible handle or a credible site or a credible account is another thing. Even in the mainstream media, there are so many publications. But over the years, what happens is, those publications that cannot command respectability, credibility, they fall off. Now, social media is just about 12 years old, isn't it? It's just about 2007, 2006, 2002, 2008. This is the genesis of social media. Now we are in 2019, just said 2018. Okay. Just about, say, 11 years. In 11 years, and the spurt of social media usage, especially for news, and the kind of reach and the kind of penetration, is only during the last 4 or 5 years, mostly. And the number of hours people spend, again, it varies from region to region. For instance, Japanese, average time that Japanese spend on internet. I'm not talking about the social media, the entire internet. It could be browsing, it could be reading, it could be newspaper, it could be anything, is 36 minutes per day. In the Philippines, it is almost about 4.5 hours per day. So there's a huge variation. So the number of people and the number of hours that you spend, and on what sites do you spend, and if slowly people get to know that this is only a sensational account. This is only an account that is there to slander some people, slander some political ideology, slander some leaders, slander some organizations. I think it will slowly die its own death. So I think we just need to, because because it's so powerful, overwhelming, that we feel as though it's there for ages. No, it's not there for ages. It's just there for 11 years, and effectively it's there only for about, say, 4 or 5 years. So in 2009, have you heard a political party or a political leader, a newspaper, on Twitter or on Facebook? No. Social media hardly played a role in 2009. In 2014, it played a significant role. Now, from 2014 till now, the landscape has changed dramatically, because there's so many handles have come up, fake handles have come up, anonymous handles have come up, because there is, in internet, there is also a possibility of being anonymous. Unless the huge research goes into and finds out which IP address, etc., people do not know, who's calling you, names, and who is abusing you, who are these, etc., etc. So, but I think there's a huge possibility of self-correction in this. Thank you very much. Thank you.